Hello and welcome to another episode on the Motherhood video series channel. I'm Ashley, I'm the founder of the Motherhood Circle, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my journey. I want to show you the journey that I went on as a new mother. I want to show you the way that it can be and the way that it could be. So hopefully you can learn from some of my mistakes, and hopefully you can, if you're newly pregnant and you're thinking, what am I going to be doing? What's the next stage? I need to know about this. This is going to be really helpful for you to learn from my mistakes and hopefully make some different choices in your journey. So what I'm going to be talking to you about is my pregnancy journey. So when I was first pregnant, before I was even pregnant, when I was trying to conceive, I was really, really excited. I was so very excited. And when I got pregnant, I went to the doctor. I went to this GP. I never really saw anybody. I just I kind of just was seeing anybody that I could see. So I went to the GP and I didn't know them. I waited for an hour. It was one of those GPs that's open all the time, and you sit there for ages, and whoever's the doctor that comes, that's the person that you go and see. So I went in to see the stranger. I'd never seen them before. My husband was with me. I'm pregnant. Let's go through the process. And I believe that I probably did a wee test or something like that, or they got some bloods ordered or something like that, and then I had to go away to pathology and go get a blood test. And then when I went back, I had to do the whole process again, wait in line and go see another male doctor who wasn't really specialized in working in pregnancy or anything. It was just a general GP. And there was no excitement. It was just blah blah blah. I didn't even know them. I was completely excited. I was so excited. I wanted to share it with the whole world. But the whole process from the very beginning, even when I told my mum, I told her when I first fell pregnant, she's like, oh, don't get your hopes up, you could lose the baby, blah blah blah, I don't want you to get upset. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for that. And then, somebody else had said that to my husband as well. Or, don't get too upset, you could lose the baby. So I was really upset about that they had said that, because, so what if I did lose the baby? Does that mean that I can't be upset about this situation, or I can't feel my feelings for the journey that I'd be going on? It was really demotivating. It made me feel like if it did happen, I couldn't tell them. So I learned that because I told them very early on in the piece, they couldn't be excited because they were freaking out. It took away a lot of the excitement for us. And also I was really, really scared that I was going to lose my baby. I knew so many people who had miscarriages, multiple miscarriages. And my own mother lost my brother full term at 38 weeks. So, it had been in my mind the entire time. It's actually making me feel really sad, because I remember crying. I'd only just found out a couple of days, and I was a couple of days in, and I didn't want to lose my baby. I was really, really upset. And God, it's making me upset now. I just wanted that baby so much. I really, really wanted her. I'd wanted her for a very long time, and I was just so happy that I had fallen pregnant so quickly. And I just wanted to have that support and love from people. And I went on my journey, and I went to a different doctor, one closer to home, and then they told me that I was high risk for GD, so I need to go do this test. And so eventually I got sent to the hospital. I got put into the hospital system. But basically I was being told what to do the whole time. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trusting that these people knew what they were doing. I wasn't given any options. I wasn't able to advocate for myself. I wasn't told, you can go to a private hospital, you can go to a public hospital, you can go with a private midwife, you can free birth, you can unassisted birth. I know that they wouldn't promote that, but it is an option. You can home birth. There are so many things that were available to me that just were not provided to me. And I can see why going to a GP, which is what you do when you first fall pregnant, it's what you're supposed to do. It's the only process really, unless you're going in with a private carer. Basically that's where you're led, and these people are just general practitioners. And if you're anything like me and you're going around the place seeing all these different people, you're definitely not going to get the care and nurturing that you need. But when I went to the hospital, I was so excited. I really wanted to get in there. I wanted to see someone special. I wanted to be treated, I wanted this to be exciting. I wanted to find out how I was going to birth, what was going to happen, tell me about it, what the processes are. And I got stuck with the obstetricians because I did end up having GD, which was it was a horrible situation, actually, because I found out that I was told by the doctor, the GP, that I didn't have GD. And I was like, oh, cool, awesome. So when I went to the hospital and I sat down with this doctor, she's like, anyway, so because you've got GD, blah, blah. And I was like, excuse me, I don't have GD. What are you talking about? She's like, yeah, you do, rah, rah. And I was like, just burst out crying. I'm like, what? Like, I don't have GD. You've got the wrong information. She's like, oh, I thought you knew. And I was like, no. And that was a really horrible conversation to have. Apparently, the GP was running off different numbers that the Brisbane hospital runs off, and then the Logan hospital where I was going, they ran off different numbers, and there was it was by 0.1 or something of a difference. It was ridiculous. The more I learn about the whole process and how people Australia-wide and worldwide were running off different results, there was no across the board numbers. There was, my friend of mine got gestational diabetes. We were talking about the numbers that we were supposed to keep under for sugar numbers. She was allowed higher sugar numbers than I was allowed. And I just couldn't understand the differences, because the difference between the numbers could mean that you end up on medication. And if you end up on medication with GD, it means that they're going to push you for an induction. So it means a whole different thing. And it means that you're going to end up having a whole different birth. It means you could be at a higher risk of having a cesarean. None of these things were disclosed to me. I was really confused about the whole process. I was confused that my friend was on high numbers and she wasn't getting induced or having this happen to her. I was really confused about the whole thing. I was going to appointments. I was having to go to 3 appointments, a dietitian appointment, a GD appointment, and I was stuck with obstetricians, which I thought was really awesome. I was like, they're the best of the best. I get to see the highest. They're the top of the top. I'm going to get treated so good. I'm going to find out all the stuff. And what happened was I was just another number. I didn't feel special. I was taking time out of my work to, which I felt like I had to beg and, get out of. And I was going to the hospital, rushing to the hospital, sitting there for an hour to see a junior doctor who would sit there for 15 minutes, talk to me about hardly anything, just check basic stuff. I mean, I could have probably seen a GP for half the stuff that they were doing, and I wouldn't have had to wait, an hour to do it for the pleasure of it. And I was like, can you tell me about the birth? And they're like, oh yeah, next week, next month, next time, blah, blah, blah. And I just didn't feel special at all. I just felt I didn't have a connection with them. They didn't have a connection with me. I didn't know them. They didn't really know me. They were obviously seeing hundreds of women a week. There was no attachment or anything like that. It was just blah. And then I was coming home and I was really isolated. I was tired. I had morning sickness. I was really sick. I was just exhausted throughout the whole pregnancy. And friends who I had connections with before, when, would see each other all the time, well, they just dropped off the radar. They were doing different things in their lives and they couldn't relate to the pregnancy stage. And even my siblings, my sisters, they didn't really get it, and they were partying and doing their thing, and I'm just sitting at home doing nothing, feeling sick and being a really boring person. And I had no one to kind of ask questions to. I had no sort of handbook, or, I Googled and I looked online and I was signed up to Baby Center and got the weekly things about my baby and the things to expect and all that sort of thing. But there was nothing about, this is your choice. These are your options. These are the birth classes available to you. There's a million birth classes to attend. These are the birth books you could read. Here's a birth podcast. Here's some movies you can watch. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew, I had a couple of friends who had had babies and they were just like, oh, get their epidural as soon as you can. And I didn't really want to have their epidural. I wanted to, I knew it was there if I needed it. I was told I was having an induction at 38 weeks. So I was really excited about that because I was going to meet my baby sooner. All I wanted throughout my whole pregnancy, as soon as I was born, was to meet my baby. So yeah, bonus, I'm getting this induction. People would ask me when I'm due. I'm like, I'm due here, but I'm going to have my baby 2 weeks earlier. So that's really cool. And I wasn't told about the risks of induction. I wasn't told that, you know, it could lead to a C-section, or, you know, there's a high probability it will. I wasn't told that it would be more painful. I was just told that because I had GD and I was on medication at that time, that that's what I did and that's what I had to do. And I wasn't given any option to really look into anything or even know the risks involved with anything. And I didn't have anyone to talk to, really. I had other mums around me, but they couldn't relate, or they weren't in that time frame of what was going on, really. And, you know, what I really needed was, from the start of my pregnancy, I felt so alone and isolated. That was the biggest thing. And I think I jumped into a couple of pages and, you know, pregnancy, and the mums on there, they were so catty and bitchy, and, you know, you see them having the mum wars. You know, they were so horrible, such horrible women to each other. They were so cruel. And even though they didn't say it to me because I wasn't posting, you know, they would attack each other over certain things. So some of the choices that I'd made, they were attacking over. It felt like it was a complete attack on me. And I was just like, whoa, this is just so mean. And it was a really hard time. I'll be truthfully honest with you. It was a really emotionally hard time. I didn't have any support. I had hoped and expected I would have got more support from my family, but, you know, it was never there to begin with. So it wasn't going to come out because I was having a magical baby. I thought that a baby would change things, but having the first baby on both sides of the family didn't actually change anything. The people still remain the same people. And that's fine. That's just how it is. And, you know, the more women that I work with, the more mothers that I work with, the more I realize that there's so many women out there like me in that situation that wish that they had the support and nourishment and guidance through that time. So what I always thought it'd be so amazing, like when you get pregnant, that someone sits down with you and says, wow, congratulations, you're pregnant. You know, these are all your options. These are all your choices. These are the birthing classes you can do. Here's your options. Here's the healthcare team that you can choose from. Here's the locations that you can choose to birth in. There's so many options available. Here's the people. Here's what an obstetrician does. Here's what a midwife does. Here's what a doula does. Like, I didn't even know what a doula was at the time. There's so many things that are available to us as women, as birthing women, as mothers, that we just don't know when we're pregnant, because it's a whole new world, right? It's like this, you're living one lifestyle and then all of a sudden you're pregnant and you're just chucked into this new category. And it's like, whoa, I've got to learn all this stuff. I've got to learn all of this stuff. And there's no one there. And even if your mother's there with you, your mother birthed like 30 years ago, you know, 20, 30 years ago, maybe even 40 years ago, depending on how old you are. Your mother would have been birthing in a completely different system with totally different rules and regulations. It would have been way more lax then. There was more people having vaginal births and less people having emergency C-sections, because let's be honest, there's not really that much need for emergency C-sections, but there's a huge amount of women going for emergency C-sections that believe that they're in danger or their baby's in danger. But often the case is they're not finding out until after the baby's born, and they're actually talking about their experience, and they find out that actually what happened was bullshit. They were lied to, or they were treated as if was their only option and they didn't have another choice. But it actually was. There was another choice. They just didn't know about it. And so I found out the same thing through my experience. And the more women I speak to, the more I know that what I am doing with women and the sort of programs and things that I'm creating comes from the love of my experience. It comes from, God, it's going to make me emotional, because I've been working with some women. I've seen it like actually change their lives. I've seen them advocate for themselves and stand strong. I've seen them grow into such amazing women, amazing mothers and advocates for themselves. And it's been a hard battle for them. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but they've actually made the choices that are right for them, and they knew what to do. I'm so proud of them. But I know that it's so important that we have that support, that women have that support during their pregnancy, to be able to advocate for themselves and make the right choices and go in with confidence and belief in themselves, so that when they start motherhood, that they're strong and courageous, and they know and they can take over that ownership. It doesn't mean when your baby's born that you know everything. No, we don't know anything. You know, even in the birthing process, you can do as many birthing courses as you want. It doesn't mean that you're going to know when you go into birth what the hell is going on, but you're going to experience the birth process the way that you want to, and then you can make some sense out of it afterwards. It may be after, you know, you've had a couple of babies and you've been through that process that you are like, yes, okay, I know what's happening. I know how my body births. It's the same with children. When you have a baby, you learn how to do these things. But I want you to have the ability to learn from a space of feeling confident within yourself. So not having to deal with postnatal depression or birth trauma. Now, I can't say that, of course, having this knowledge and support is going to stop you from having these, you know, postnatal depression or birth trauma, but having the information or even knowing about them before you actually have your baby is a pretty big thing, you know, and knowing how to support yourself after having a baby. So if you do experience these things, you know who to turn to for support, and you've got the support of somebody who's non-judgmental and you know, not going to say the wrong things and upset you and judge you and that sort of thing. So going back to when I was a mother, you know, a pregnant mum, and I was on these mum pages, because we didn't really have groups. It was about 5 years ago. There wasn't really that many groups back then. It was all about the mum pages, and everyone would go, you know, they'd post something on there and everyone would type, and yeah, all the mums would be getting on there. And when I started venturing into mums groups, because when I had my daughter, I finally figured out there were some mums groups that just started. And I saw the judgment and the bitchiness, and I thought, why the hell aren't these admins? This is their group. Why aren't they looking after these? And there was a huge local group around me, and I had put up a couple of posts, and they weren't even in relation to my child. They were in relation to, I was running a family daycare, and a child that was in care, she just started solids, and her mum had brought in some pre-made food that was, you know, bought in the jar. I was feeding my daughter homemade stuff, so I'd never actually used the pre-bought stuff, and there was a black ring around the top of the roof of the thing. So I put it in the mums group and I said, hey, is this normal? I thought it could be mold or it could be something, and I wasn't sure. And I asked my friend at the time, she made all her stuff too, so we didn't know what the hell was going on. Anyways, I just had a bombardment of mothers who were like, oh my God, can't you cook your own food? You know, that's so lazy. It's not hard to cook the food, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, whoa, that is really mean. Like, especially because like they don't even know that it's not my child. But what if I had bought the bloody jar food? And by the way, I did with my second child because I wanted to, and that's nobody else's business. But you know, they were really, I wasn't asking that question. I needed to know about this lid, and they were attacking me and telling me my choices were wrong. So that was just one example. I've had a new mother tell me that if somebody had said something, given opinion that I had written in this group, that she would punch them in the face. Admin didn't step into those situations. They had decided that these are grown women, that they weren't going to take responsibility for the women's actions, and that they're going to let it go because they couldn't be bothered. They didn't feel, it wasn't their personality type to be managing these groups. And so I was really upset because I was vulnerable. I was a new mum. I had all these hormones going on. I had all this shit going on in my life. I had no support. I was turning to these groups for support. And when I was reaching out and I was telling admin about it, I was saying, hey, you know, these ladies are really, really catty. I had one admin lady block me from the group and remove me from her group because she didn't have time. She was running this group all by herself. She didn't have time to deal with this shit. And she just wanted all the praise in the group. But didn't want to actually deal with managing the group or getting assistance from people to help. So what was happening is there were people in there who were nasty and mean, and then there were people who were getting attacked in there. So I left the group anyways, and I left another group. And I realized, because I was sitting at home, I was getting attacked all the time when I was trying to reach out for support. And I realized one day, I don't know why, but I realized I just deleted myself from all these groups. And then I was happier, and I wasn't judging myself, and I wasn't feeling like a really bad mum. And I realized that these groups and these women were in my life. I'd accepted them and allowed them into my life, into my living room, into disrupting the relationships I had with my children or my child, because I was getting caught up on the crap that they were saying, and I was probably defending myself. And then when I cut myself off from those groups, I was like, this is amazing. I feel so happy. So it wasn't until I joined another mother's group for weight loss, and it was a really, really supportive group. They had a really strong admin. They had lots of admin. And as soon as someone put something unsupportive or something that wasn't very nice, delete. You got removed from the group. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. These people are onto it. Like, if someone says something wrong, it's against the group policy, they're out of there. And I thought that's really great, because they actually care about the people that are in their group. They want to nurture and foster a supportive environment. And it wasn't until then that I always believed that it could happen, but I didn't actually know until I saw it. Still a part of that group to this day. It's been about 4 or 5 years that I've been a part of that group, and I am so thankful, because it's changed my life. Then I started to see other groups open up and paid programs and things like that. And I joined a paid program in my pregnancy, and having that connection and that support was like life-changing for me. So then I was inspired to create something similar for women in pregnancy and after pregnancy, to have that support in a safe community where if you're mean or if you're rude or if you want to come in and, just be so crass to people, that you're removed from the group, because this is a supportive environment. This is a safe environment. So I created a community, and I've got a beautiful group of women who are supportive of the choices that they're making. You don't always have to understand the choices that someone makes, but you can be respectful and open-minded, and you can be polite and courteous and allow that person to speak their truth. You can be inquisitive and ask questions and learn more about them if you want to, but it's the way that we speak to each other. It's, rather than say, why would you do that? It's like, can you tell me some more about that? How you got to that choice, what led you to the journey of getting to that choice. Often, when we allow people to talk to us and we allow the space, we figure out that this is why they've got to that place. And wow, how amazing is that? But these women in my group, they've been so supportive of each other. They've all decided to have different births. They're all different mothers. They're in different situations. They live across Australia, in totally different locations. And they came together, and they're so supportive. And it's just been really amazing. And this is in my my group, Journey to Motherhood Program, which is a paid program, by the way. I haven't actually talked about it while we're going on about it, but it's a paid program. And so what I put in the paid program is 6 modules as well, to help women to know exactly what they can expect and get prepared for life after birth with their newborn baby. So it's been a really wonderful experience. But now what I've created in my 6-week program is the what to expect when you're expecting, basically. So, the trimesters, the ultrasounds, birth, and all of that kind of stuff, so that you go along the journey and you actually have an idea of what's going on. So I will put links to the Journey into Motherhood program, so you can check that out if you're interested. But I am really, really happy that I created this program, because hopefully it means that so many more mothers don't have to go through the same journey that I went through and be alone, not have the support, be judged, and feel like just another number. Hopefully the point is that you feel supported, calm, confident, and connected in your pregnancy and motherhood journey. So yeah, I hope that you learned something from, me sharing my story, and I hope that if you're feeling the same way that I was feeling in my pregnancy, that you do reach out, that you do get the support, that you do find out and find out all those answers, which you can do in my program, Journey to Motherhood. I'll give you the link. You can also follow me on Facebook, the Motherhood Circle, Ashley in the Motherhood Circle, and get in touch with me. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a lovely day. If you've got any questions, type them below. I would love to hear from you, or send me a PM. And I will be in touch with another video next week, hopefully. Thank you. Bye.